now here to do the personnel hearing. So you all want to open or closed hearing?
Open.
I'm sorry?
We'll have an open hearing, and before I forget again, we will have, I think, 2 people in attendance, and we will have 1 witness.
Say that again?
We will have 2 people in attendance that'll flag in real quick, and we'll have 1 witness. So before we begin the swearing in and everything, just like
Are they in here already?
If it's open, they come on in, can't they?
Come on.
Yeah.
If it's open, they come on in.
Yeah.
Okay, they're coming.
Anybody can be in here if it's an open hearing.
I'll grab some chairs for 'em real quick.
Hey, my name's Larry Ford, and I'll be the presiding officer for this personnel hearing. Before we proceed further, could the parties and their representatives state the appearance for the record?
Trey Morona, Bowles Rice here on behalf of the administration.
Amy Simonko, Director of Human Resources for Raleigh County Schools.
Carl Lilly, WVEA representative for each of the counselors present.
This states your names.
Kathleen Angel, School Counselor at Beckley Stratton Middle School.
Thank you.
Amber Cox, the counselor at Stratton Elementary. Melissa Cook, counselor at Woodrow Wilson High School.
That's our personal reach, so.
Caitlin Stover, counselor at Woodrow Wilson High School.
Are there any preliminary matters that we need to address before proceeding?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, first we want to swear everybody in, that we would like to do it individually.
Do you swear or affirm that your forthcoming testimony in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, do you have anything? Administration? You ready? Okay. I'll wake you up. Maybe.
Now you're moving quicker. You ready for it? Okay. When I do the opening, I'm just going to proffer all the evidence that we would present through the testimony of Dr. Starcher and Ms. Simonko, and any questions that need to be asked could be asked of those witnesses from the representative or the board members after I finish. So I'm going to do a general overview and then talk a little bit about each case. This is an open hearing, so you're obviously okay with all of your personnel information being discussed openly, right, in front of each other and anybody watching, I guess. So, because I'm going to talk about a few things, just your details. So I just didn't want to make sure you all knew that's going to happen. All right, each year school districts throughout West Virginia are required to examine and evaluate their enrollment, their funding, and staffing needs throughout the school district for the upcoming school year, and to take necessary action to realign the workforce for the upcoming school year. Unfortunately, most West Virginia school districts, both enrollment and funding, have been declining for a number of years. Raleigh County Schools is no different. All across the state, county superintendents and human resource directors have reviewed the county's enrollment, staffing, and available funding, and they are making recommendations to the respective county boards to approve a realignment plan for the upcoming school year. Superintendent Starcher and Director Simonko have been working on this realignment plan for some time. During each hearing, you will have in front of you 2 packets of exhibits. Each of you should have those, the board members as well. One packet contains exhibits 1 through 4, and those are general exhibits that will be part of the record of each hearing. The second packet will contain additional documents, but it's going to be unique to each one of you individually. Exhibit 1 in everyone's packet is a chart that contains data. It's a 15-year history of the enrollment, staffing, and state aid funding for Raleigh County Schools. during most of that 15-year history, student enrollment has declined, and as enrollment declines, it impacts funding and also, what the needs are of the students throughout the school district. So school districts from year to year must realign their staff for the next school year, or else they might find themselves over formula, as it's called, and then when a school district ends up over formula, they have more positions than they have funding for through the state aid formula. Exhibits 2 and 3 in every packet will be the preliminary computations issued by the West Virginia Department of Education for Raleigh County Schools. Those documents you'll see project that the school district will be over formula in professional positions for next year by 79.27 at the rate, the trend where they are right now, and that they will be over formula 76.61 service positions total. Now that will include, in addition to what's on that document, 29 ECAT, third-grade ECAT positions that have to be created for next year. So for context, for the purposes of this hearing this year, these numbers are substantially higher than they were for the current school year. During the current school year, Raleigh County Schools is over formula 37, a little over 37 professional positions and a little over 7 service positions. So there is a projected change between this year and next year, and if not addressed at this time, leaves the school district to fund all the over formula positions without any state aid to assist. So here is where we are now. Superintendent Starcher and Director Simonko have been actively engaged in analyzing the enrollment, the staffing, and the funding information across the entire school district. This process has included a review of each and every school within the school district. As a result of this process, Superintendent Starcher will recommend that the board, at their meeting in April, approve a number of personnel actions that will enable the school district to realign its workforce for the upcoming school year. This realignment plan involves 3 types of actions that will be put before the board. One involves a contract modification, another involves a transfer, and another is a termination of contract. And it could be a combination of 2 or maybe all 3 of those, depending on the employees. In this particular case, I know that all 4 of these employees will end up, they're in the last category there. Their contracts would be terminated for lack of seniority to hold a position. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So one aspect of the realignment plan involves reducing the number of days in a contract. These particular cases don't involve that. School districts, of course, have discretion of days over 200 days. Second aspect involves putting folks on the transfer list. None of these folks are in that category either. All 4 here are in the third aspect of a realignment plan, which involves the termination of contracts for lack of need, which doesn't mean their job necessarily. A couple of these situations, their job specifically is being eliminated. In other situations, they're being bumped, the other 2, and then they don't have anywhere to go because of their lack of seniority. So the end result with all 4 of these ladies is that when the realignment plan is put in motion, they either their job is eliminated or they're bumped out of their job and they don't have sufficient seniority to hold a job for next year. Now this doesn't mean, this is a realignment of the workforce. It doesn't mean that they can't become employed for the next school year, but there's a different process for that. But doing this realignment year to year for school districts is necessary to not only meet the needs for the school district, but also to keep in mind the enrollment and the available funding parameters that the school district faces to try to be the most efficient they can. So while a number of employees, including these 4, are impacted by the recommendation, the good news is that given the number of current vacancies in Raleigh County Schools, nearly all employees that are impacted by the plan will have an opportunity for employment with Raleigh County Schools for the upcoming school year. Based on the superintendent's projections, if her recommendations for realignment are approved, there would be 78 professional contracts terminated for lack of needs district-wide, and that's professional, but there's projected 70 professional vacancies for next year. As for service personnel, the net loss would just be 1 position, due in large part to 48 projected service personnel vacancies for the upcoming school year. Unfortunately, school laws prevent the school district from simply just immediately transferring employees into another position when those employees are subject to termination like these 4. Instead, these employees whose contracts would be terminated for lack of need could bid on vacancies even before their contract ends on June the 30th, but if they don't bid on one or receive one by then, on July 1st, they would go on the preferred recall list and they can continue to bid on jobs and vacancies. So even though the realignment plan brings change, the end result of this plan is expected to be that most all employees that are impacted by it will have an opportunity for employment for the upcoming school year, but perhaps in a different position than the one they currently hold. So moving into the specifics of this case, I'll just address each one individually. See if I've got the first one there. Ms. Cox. Ms. Cox is holding a continuing contract for 205 days and is at Stratton Elementary School. That's where her assignment is now. She holds she holds a counselor certificate, so that's in her case. Ms. Cox was one of the individuals whose position that she's in currently is eliminated, and so that displaces her, but she doesn't have enough seniority to hold a job for next year, so that's why she's being subject to termination by this action. Ms. Angel is at Shady Middle School. Is that right? Beckley Stratton, I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong number. 210-day contract, and it's a continuing contract. She also holds the support certificate for a counselor, and she is likewise on for termination. Again, that's due to her lack of seniority when the plan is put in motion, and she, Ms. Angel, would be bumped out of her position, and she wouldn't have sufficient seniority to hold another position. So next I have Ms. Stover is she's on a continuing contract, a 210-day contract that was continuing as of July 1st, 2023. She's assigned as a counselor at Woodrow Wilson High School. She has the certificate for professional student support, the counselor certificate. Let's see if I went the right direction here. Got one more here, sorry. Ms. Cook is on a probationary contract, 210 days, Woodrow Wilson High School, and she also holds the counselor's certificate. So all four of these individuals, sometimes counselors, school counselors will hold professional teaching certificates or other certificates. These four individuals do not. So you look at, when the plan is in motion and if they're bumped out of their job or their job is eliminated, if they don't hold enough seniority to hold a counselor position, you can look to other areas of certification, but this is the only certification they hold. So that's what, the case here is involving now. Basically, what's initiated this is, for example, with Ms. Cook, her letter that's in her file, that's in the folder as an exhibit, states that due to reduction of duties to be performed whenever students are not present, as well as you having lesser seniority than other counselors across Raleigh County, this position will be eliminated, and then as a result of her lack of seniority, her contract will be terminated at the end of the school year. Ms. Cox, hers is similar, due to a reduction of duties to be performed whenever students are not present, as well as you're having lesser seniority than other counselors. This position will be recommended for elimination, and then, of course, because of her lack of seniority, she would be terminated. In the other two cases, Ms. Angel, due to the recommendation to eliminate selected counselors' positions across the county, so as part of the realignment, there was a bumping, other folks with more seniority would bump into her position, and then when she's bumped, she doesn't have anybody to bump, so because of her lack of seniority to do so, she would be terminated, her contract would be terminated. And then the last one, Ms. Stover, on my list here, similar reason, due to the recommendation to eliminate select counselor positions across the county, as well as you having lesser seniority, then she would be recommended for termination. In Ms. Stover's case, she's similar to Ms. Angel's case. That was a bumping where she would get bumped and doesn't have a seniority to go to the position. So that's basically what the mechanics are of what this presentation, what the proffer of the case is. The reason behind the case is stated. there's positions being eliminated, essentially probably just kind of cover the bases here. In all of these cases, the similar reasoning is the reorganization and the restructuring of the counselor's position countywide, that some positions are being eliminated. A couple of those are even these folks sitting here, and then other positions will be realigned, and shared, and there's going to be split positions created. Due to that realignment, reorganization, and the elimination of positions, these four will end up losing their positions due to lack of seniority. So that's a general overview of what the basis is for the action that's being recommended. But if you have any questions to Mr. Lilly, if you have any questions for the superintendent or to Ms. Simonko, then I would pass them off as witnesses to you at this time. Or whenever the board president says, you may want to go about it a different way.
Okay, moving right along. This is an administrative employment hearing. Each party or their representative is entitled to give an opening statement, to offer evidence of an exhibit, to examine, cross-examine witnesses, all of whom shall testify under oath, and if desired, to give closing statements. The evidentiary standard approved in this administrative hearing is a preponderance of the evidence. The standard is met when the party bearing the burden of proof convinces the board that a disputed fact is more likely true than false. The parties may submit evidence and ask for it to be marked and admitted. Copies of the evidence must be presented to each board member, each representative, and the superintendent. A marked copy of the evidence will be maintained as part of the record of the hearing. As the providing officer, I shall rule on any objections. The employees and or their representatives are advised to keep their objections short and to the point. The rules of evidence are not strictly applied in administrative proceedings. The board is likely to admit and consider any evidence offered by the parties that appear to be relevant to the issues before us. Excuse me. This may include hearsay evidence, which is defined as any statement made outside of the proceedings, the content of which is being offered by a party to prove the truth of the matter asserted. For example, if a witness testifies that someone told him or her something about the matter in the past outside of the proceedings, and they are offering the statement as proof that something in dispute is true or false, did or did not happen, or the like, that the testimony would be considered hearsay. Although hearsay evidence may be admitted, board members will only give hearsay evidence the weight which seems appropriate to the judgment of each voting board member. So please speak clearly so that your statements and testimony can be accurately recorded and, if necessary, transcribed. When asked a question, you must answer aloud because gestures cannot be captured accurately. The administration has the burden of proof and shall proceed first. Does the administration have an opening statement?
I did it. I guess I jumped the gun there, so I've already done it. That was it.
That's okay. Do the employees have an opening statement?
Yes, we do. We also have exhibits to present. Just to simplify the matter, anything listed with an A is presented by Ms. Stover. Anything listed with a B is presented by Ms. Cook.
Yeah. Can you speak up a little, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any of the exhibits that we're about to pass out, anything listed with an A is presented by Ms. Stover. Anything listed with a B is presented by Ms. Cook. And there's only one document with a C, and that's from Ms. Ann.
She has 7.
Oh, okay. There might be an extra or two in there.
Thank you all for your patience with that. So again, thank you all for the time. If I had remembered to replace the battery in my watch, I would look at it and tell you thank you for the time. Right now I have about 1 o'clock.
It's not. Let's hope not. Closer to the other. Little later.
So we've got 1C, 2A, 4A, 1B, B, C.
So in total, there should be 1 through 4A, 1 through 9B, and 1C.
Okay, so we want those admitted as on court record.
Yeah, I don't have all.
Mr. Lilly, did you say we should have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A? We only have 2A and 4A. And then we have a 1C,
Yeah, there should only be one C.
but we're missing 2 As.
You got 2A and 4A.
I got two,
but
but
I
I
got-
got.
We need a 1A and a 3A.
2, 3, and 4B.
I have 1, 2, 3.
Is that it?
I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do you?
Yeah.
We don't.
No, I do. I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mr. Lilly, two board members have 4 letter As, but the rest of us only have 2
Yeah,
letter
do
As.
you have?
I only have 2 of them.
Oh, no, Mrs. Smith only has 2, so only Dr. Hutchins has all 4.
I made,
I'm missing, I have 6B. 1 and 3. I have 4B.
Unless they're stuck together, I think she's looking for it.
Over there.
Do you think the 1As maybe accidentally got
I have all
stapled?
these.
no, they were all separate. Yeah, they were all separate. I had them separated before we came in and did it all.
So this is the thing.
These are all.
Did you get letter 3A? I can solve the problem.
Do you have them all?
I have all of the ones. All of them, so I kept one.
There you go.
I will pass those out. I'll share. I just assumed it was it. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I got 1A, so 3 A's.
3A was also a stapled.
Okay, I probably have all those too. Here, I only need one of these.
Don't do that.
I'll take them down.
Here, I'll take these down.
Yes, I'll give them to them, to
And
the court. But we're still missing 3A. Do you
I
have
think I
them?
have that one too, because I have a paper clip on it, so I assume I have all of those. Oops, sorry. All right, 3A.
Yeah, she got, she was hauling them all.
That's 3A coming down. 3A's on its way. Oh, goodness. It was a
I made it difficult.
because they're all so thick.
I thought I had 2A, but not 3A.
2A, I laid 3A there. 2 is
It's
safe
like
for it.
it's not that bad, but it's a 3. It's the same. Okay.
2 is stable, so I don't have all of them.
Here's a 3.
Should have 1
I
through.
only have a 1B and a 3B. I have 4 and a
This
6B.
says 2A, but it's 3A.
Oh, wait, there's the 4B.
Should have 1 through 9.
You have the number.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
There's 5B, 6B, 4B. Sorry, I didn't take them apart and look at them.
We got them.
We have it.
I'll go and take the blame on that my caffeine has worn off several hours ago.
So you got all of them?
Yes.
Just let me know when we're ready to continue.
So now those are part of the record.
Right?
Yeah, we're ready. Good.
All right. All right, again, thank you all for the patience, apologies for the confusion. So in the interest of the board, I won't repeat much of what I've said in similar hearings. I'm just going to emphasize the main points in that when we are looking at the counselors specifically and the days cut both in elementary and secondary, again, the reasoning is, which I find faulty, of the reduction of duties given the House bill of last year. Again, I make the argument that you can't have a specific set of duties outlined in job descriptions, add on more to that, and then have legislation take those away in the interest of going back to what the counselors should have been doing in the first place, and that they will have time to do in the first place is the intent. I mean, obviously they're still struggling with time, but the intent of it was to allow them more time to be able to perform the job duties as assigned, and penalizing the fact that they were overburdened unnecessarily by the secretarial and clerical duties. That was taken away, and now we're looking at day cuts of 5 to 10 days because of now they're doing what they should have been doing to begin with. So that is the main argument for me there. And then secondly, we have, of course, several cuts of counselors from the county as a whole, which is going to significantly increase caseload to the remaining counselors, further emphasizing the fact that they're going to need these extra days to be able to prepare, to be able to be proactive, and to avoid having to work late, to avoid having all these unnecessary challenges, really, and to be able to actually spend some time with the kids as they need to be doing. So the reduction of the days and the subsequent increase of the caseload is twofold, burdening the counselors that are remaining, and it's burdening the students that need the help the most. So that's going to be my general opening statement, and I'll turn it off to the counselors present.
Could I interject something, please? And I want everybody obviously to have their opportunity to be heard, but just for clarification purposes for the record, these 4 employees have been given notice that their positions are being either eliminated or they're bumped out of a position, and that they don't have sufficient seniority to hold a position. I mean, that's the basis for their letters, that's the basis for the recommended personnel action for these 4 employees. And I think that the statement, the opening statement that was given is to basically spend a hearing on an issue that's not really the basis of the action for these employees. And I'm not saying that those issues won't be addressed by the board. I think they're being addressed in lots of other hearings. The folks whose contracts, which is what he's alluding to, contracts are being reduced. We've had hearings with those employees that action is what's being recommended. With these 4, that's not the action that's being recommended. The action here that's being recommended is that their positions either are being eliminated, not your contract days are reduced. So I just want to try to avoid spending a lot of time talking about an issue that doesn't pertain to these 4 individuals. 2 jobs are being eliminated, and so they don't have enough seniority to hold a job for the next year. And then the other 2 are being bumped out of their job by more senior employees, and they don't have enough seniority. So to me, the issues for these 4 are, do they believe that they do have sufficient seniority to hold a job, or do they believe that their job is improperly eliminated, or that the folks that would bump them out of their job, that they disagree that there's someone more senior that would bump them out of their job. I think those are the issues for these hearings, not to really have hearings on other issues that might pertain to other employees that we've actually had several hearings on. So I'm just going to ask that the hearing be focused on what the issues are that relate to these 4 employees, instead of basically presenting 4 more cases that are really not what's before the board this evening on issues that aren't before the board. I know you've been in other hearings, so I know that you've taken a position, and you just in your opening about your disagreement with the reduction of contract days, but that's not the action with these 4 employees. So that's what I'm asking, is that the hearing be focused on what the issues are for these 4 individuals.
Right, and just to reiterate, the important contextual information here is that the reduction of the contract days and the cuts are directly related to the situations that these individuals are finding themselves in. So with that contextual information presented, I think it's pertinent to discuss at least an opening, not in innate 2-hour details, but at least an opening to provide important context.
Well, I just think that nobody is contesting the importance of, and I know we've gotten a lot of handouts, but these hearings, nobody is contesting the importance and the very important role of a counselor in the school system. I mean, this is not about anybody's job performance. It's not about the value of having counselors in a school district, the importance of their role, what their job description is, what the legislature did last year. That's just not what the hearings are about on these 4 employees. Nobody's contesting that their jobs are very important. That counselor positions, I should say, are important. But it's the realignment of the workforce that resulted in these 4 not having sufficient seniority to hold a position. And so I just want to stay focused on what the issues are on these recommendations. But instead of having another hearing on issues that relate to other employees who've already had hearings. So that would be my request, and or if it has to be viewed as an objection, I just think that the hearing can get, and it can go in a lot of different directions than it really should. But that's just an objection. It's up to the board on how to proceed.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Call your first witness. Or do you have one?
No, we have to talk.
He was still doing openings. I think he wanted his other.
Oh, we used to
All of them to do it. I'm sorry.
The first counselor.
Go ahead.
I was saying, it's on?
As long as it's on, if it's red, if the red light comes on.
Okay, I said never done this before. So what I have for you all in 1C, unfortunately due to the large volume of this, I think you all have already seen this earlier today. And it's just research studies that support the value of school counseling because we are being reduced in numbers. And I don't see how fewer of us are going to be able to serve the students in our community that we currently have. And I am going to be very short. I just want to ask that you all reconsider the cuts that are being made to our school counselors. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amber Cox. I'm the Stratton Elementary counselor. My full-time position is being terminated, and I think the proposal is that it become a part-time, split between another school. So as for my position, I will be terminated because it's a full-time position. So I'm here to discuss with you what I do at Stratton and how I feel the need for Stratton to have a full-time counselor. I stand before you, this is the second year that I have stood before you to discuss this because the same thing happened last year with Stratton, where it was proposed for it to be a part-time position. I have been a counselor in the Raleigh County School District since August of 2020, where I worked at Clear Fork and Marsh Fork Elementary. I came to Stratton Elementary in March of 2023 after the imminent need of a counselor was needed prior to the beginning of the new school year. I was both excited and eager to be working in the community that I have called home for the past 40 years. The staff welcomed me with open arms. I had created positive relationships with many of the administration and staff at the school during my counselor internship from January to May of 2020. I came to Stratton with the mindset to be a positive, consistent, trustworthy person and resource to the staff, students, and parents. My goal was to create a rapport with the students and be someone that they could come to for guidance and support. In those first few months until the end of the 2022-2023 school year, I did just that. And now in this current school year, I have continued to foster a positive rapport and created lasting relationships with all staff, students, parents, and the community. Currently at Stratton, we have 251 students enrolled. 89% of our students are considered low socioeconomic status. We are ranked number 2 in the county as having the highest percentage of students with low socioeconomic status. In an article from Education Trust, it states that too often school counselors are not available to students of color and students from low-income families. These students have been overlooked and underserved. Our students at Stratton Elementary and the community face so many day-to-day challenges and have experienced traumas one could not imagine. To provide them with a part-time counselor and limit them with the daily support that they can rely on to check in and motivate them daily to have a positive and successful day would be a disservice. One thing the students lack at Stratton Elementary in their lives is a consistent person that they can trust with their good news and bad days. As the counselor at Stratton Elementary, I see on average about 10 to 15 students a day. The range of reasons these students come to me varies. Sometimes they just need a place where they can visit to calm down so that better choices can be made in the classroom. Sometimes they bring a friend or a group of friends to work through an issue they are having. And sometimes they come to talk about what happened the night before or that morning while at home. And they don't know how to handle it and need help to not let it negatively affect their time at school. Sometimes they just want to tell me that they had 100% in their conduct that day and then receive the positive accolade with news that boosts their confidence, mood, and self-image. There are times that they come to me after a negative choice has been made and a consequence has been given by administration, and they want to talk through the best way to handle it the next time. Then there are times that parents contact me asking for help with their children due to behaviors at home and or at school. They also rely on the counselor for support. The staff at Stratton Elementary all work together to help our children. Currently, we have a full-time counselor, which is myself, a full-time communities and schools liaison, and we have a full-time social worker, in which her position will no longer exist in the upcoming school year. We are blessed to have a part-time licensed social worker in our Access Health office, in which we have referred a few students to her for additional support. We all aid each other in providing support to the students and their families, but we find sometimes with the overwhelming need of our students and our other job responsibilities that even more help is needed with the social, emotional needs of our students. Jerry Spinelli stated, because life doesn't always happen according to a timetable or calendar, and feelings can't be scheduled. One can never know the specific day or time when the students at Stratton will need a familiar face of support to be there for them. To give them a part-time counselor that is not present at the moment when they will be needed the most by the students will be detrimental to their emotional well-being and limit their capability of being able to handle their strong emotions and feelings. I want the best for my Beckley community and my Stratton Elementary staff, students, and families. Please reconsider the proposal of limiting them one of the very few constants that they have when they come to school every day. School counselors are just one part, but an important part of a system that ensures students have excellent educational experiences. And again, I come to you, I understand my position being terminated, but I come to you as just a person in the community that wants to fight for Stratton and give them that full-time counselor. Fight for those kids. I'm not fighting for me, but those students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Melissa Cook. I am the counselor, one of the counselors at Woodrow Wilson High School. 3 of our 4 positions were cut. And I have a lot of exhibits. I'm not gonna go through every single one of them. The first one is actually just a list of things that we do on a regular basis. Some happen at the beginning of the school year, some happen throughout the school year, it just depends. And that is 7 pages long. And that's just things that I sat down within an hour and typed up. There are obviously things that I have left out, but I think one of the biggest reasons why we are here and the terminations are happening is just a misconception of what counselors do in general and what high school counselors do specifically for me. We spend a lot of time preparing at the beginning of the school year. You guys have heard all about the scheduling things that we do to get ready. We spend a lot of time poring over records and making sure that those students are set up for success. There are so many things that we do to intervene with students when they are struggling, whether it be with home stuff or stuff that happens within the school building. Woodrow in particular has a very high risk population of students that could drop out of high school. We are very proactive. Every October we have a meeting with our at-risk students. We invite Mountaineer Challenge Academy, we invite Job Corps, we invite our counselor at ACT that does option pathway testing. We invite all of those people, our students and their parents, to come and hear about all of the available options to help them finish high school. These kids need our help. I have at least 8 kids right now that are retesting. These are regular ed students and special education students. Just last week, I found myself as the only counselor at the building on a particular Friday. Before noon, I had 4 students in my office for various reasons. 2 boys absolutely sobbing over school issues, home issues, different things. Every single one of those students were special education students. And I know that that is something that even the board members have addressed recently about the need for special services for special ed. We are a big part of that. A lot of our time is spent with special education teachers, and students. even the ones that have aides, personal aides, that work with them daily, or aides within their classroom, those aides bring those students to us when they don't know what to do. One of those students last week, I had to call CPS about. There are so many things that happen, and these special ed students, they often don't know who to talk to. We are that person. And so, like I said, I'm not gonna read through every single one of those things, but you can obviously see that we spend a lot of our time working with students on a huge amount of things. Financial aid for college, it just goes on and on and on. The next thing that I have is a breakdown of the time that I do spend with my students. I am very close and maybe over the recommended 80% of direct time with my students this past month. That doesn't always happen. There's things at the beginning of the year that prevent that, but as of from December 28th to January 27th, 82% of my time was spent directly with students. I have roughly 365 students. Woodrow itself, we have had 138 students withdraw from us. We've had 140 come in. And I don't know what you all are aware of as far as what happens with high school kids when they move in. Very rarely is it because there's nothing going on. If a high school student moves in to us in the middle of their high school career, it is very likely that that student has had problems in the past, has home issues, has struggled with school. I have one student in particular, you guys have heard about how we do course requests. During our meeting with him, he came in at the beginning of this school year. This student has struggled behaviorally, he has struggled academically, he struggled at his previous school. I have been working with him since the beginning of the school year, and he nearly cracked a smile. That is why I do this. And I know there's been a lot of talk of seniority and those kind of things. This is my 11th year as a high school counselor. I did 8 years in Oklahoma. My husband was in the military, so I was out there. And I have 11 years of experience doing this. I have a very high level of experience working with at-risk students. Woodrow has become my home. Those kids are my heart. Like, I do this because I love them and I want them to do well. I don't do this, I don't know what I would do with myself in an elementary school, to be quite honest. That's just not where I am. So then there is also a letter from Ms. Stack. She is one of our wonderful teachers that wanted to speak on my behalf, but she was not able to be here. So she just wanted everybody to know how important our counseling department is to our school. And then I also included an email from a parent from just last night that specifically states that I have helped him so much and a lot of people would not have bothered, and how much that means to her. This student is very close to not graduating. He completed a half a credit of credit recovery this week. He is nearly finished with another one. If he does everything that I've advised him to do, he will graduate. And that is my hard work and his. That is his mom being in contact with me on a regular basis, me reaching out to her. He needs to do X, Y, and Z in order to make it. The next is just a text message that I got from a former parent. Her student was actually graduating from the Citadel, and she wanted to make sure that I was aware. He actually listed me as one of 6 people that he wanted to send an announcement to. So, I mean, this just is evidence of how we impact students. And the rest of it is more of the same. So you guys can obviously read through all of that. I don't need to go over every single little piece. I just want you all to know the impact that we have on these kids and the impact that they have on us. I also included a copy of the job description, which we have touched on a little bit, and you can very clearly see how it aligns with what the House bill says. There's not been very much change. I do think over the years, counselors have been the catch-all. If the principal didn't want to do it, if the teachers didn't want to do it, let the counselors do it. That's how we became test administrators. That's how we became the extra people in the hallways. And being on duty, honestly, there's only specific times where I have objected to it. It often gave me a time to see my kids first thing in the morning and check on them when I wouldn't always see every single kid that comes through the door. But it also put me in a position of discipline. It put me in a place where I had to tell a kid they could not do something, or they shouldn't do something, or they were dress coded, or something like that. That damages our relationship with those kids severely, to the point where you almost have to do a restorative practice at that point to mend that before you can continue that counselor relationship with them. And I don't want to sacrifice that relationship with my kids. I want them to know that I am their safe place. And then I also included just a little bit about the levy information that was presented to the public. There are several things on here that could very well be considered part of counselor funding. There's a line for dropout for prevention, staffing support, and it does specifically mention that that is something that's going to be used for people that are not within the state aid funding formula. And then there's some stuff about salary support. And I think that's all I have.
We need to switch chairs, allow them to switch chairs so I can do this.
My name is Caitlin Stover. I'm a counselor over at Woodrow Wilson. I've been a counselor in Raleigh County Schools for 5 years. I started out at Indy High School during COVID in January 2020, and for a while I was the only counselor there because we had a sub who had gotten injured and she could no longer work for the rest of the year. So I know how it is to work as the only counselor in the building, which is something that concerns me about these terminations. If there's certain schools that may have only one counselor at them, because it is a very hard job to maintain. And a lot of the nights when I was at Indy High working during COVID to try to get the kids to graduate from January 2020 till May of 2020, I was working very, very long hours, sometimes till 2 a.m. So the burden of working those long hours as the ESOL counselor in a high school is concerning to me. And then I've been at Stratton Elementary, and I know that that is a very, very needy school. Those kids deserve to have a full-time position there and a support system for them. So that is something that I think that community is deserving of. And then I've been at Woodrow for quite some time now. And I love my students, I love my faculty, I love everything about the school, and I think that limiting the amount of support and counseling that they may have is a detriment to our students, because we are not going to be able to meet the needs that they have. We have a lot of high flyer students who have a lot of needs to help them be prepared for college and for the next steps in their lives. We have a lot of students who are going to the military that we need to help prepare for that. We also have a lot of at-risk students who we need to help through option pathway testing and other testing to get them into different programs. And if we don't have the 4 counselors at Woodrow and it's less than that, I'm very concerned about what that will do for our students. I've had a lot of students recently who have came to me over suicide ideation. That takes a lot of time. So if you have a lot of students who are in crisis, who are dealing with suicidal ideation, or you have a student who was raped, or you have a student who's been abused, that takes a lot of time. You have to do CPS reports, you have to contact their parents in a lot of cases with suicide ideation, and you have to get them support and help. So, I just worry that if there's not 4 counselors at Woodrow, that a lot of the students are going to be not cared for, because it's going to be really hard for for the counselors there to meet their needs. The first exhibit I have is a letter from Mary Beth Underwood, one of our English teachers. She teaches AP English 11, and she also teaches our dual credit class, and she understands, the importance of our jobs at Woodrow Wilson and how we support our students. Exhibit 2A is my time log for the whole first semester of the school year, and every black line in here is a student meeting. That is direct contact with every student. So you can see that a lot of these days I am in direct contact with students. It concerns me that if there are not 4 counselors at Woodrow, how are the students going to be met with? How are they going to be cared for? How are their needs going to be met? How are we going to know about their transcripts and how they're going to get to graduation? I feel like a lot of our at-risk students are going to fall through the cracks and they're going to drop out. And I think that if we do not have the amount of counselors that we currently have at Woodrow, that we will have a high dropout risk. I think that if Liberty were to go down to 1 counselor, or Indy were to go down to 1 counselor, or even a part-time counselor, that they would have a higher dropout risk. I think that if Shady goes down to 2 counselors, they would have a higher dropout risk. I think that terminating these positions and decreasing the amount of counselors in the schools are going to create a higher dropout risk. I think cutting the elementary counselors to part-time positions are going to increase a risk for them to drop out as they get into high school, because you are not going to have counselors who can stay focused on meeting directly with those students when they're in part-time positions at these elementary schools, and they're going to miss students who are missing school, and they're not going to have that direct contact to talk to the parents or talk to the students about their attendance. Attendance rates in the 3rd grade highly impact the probability of a student who is going to drop out in high school. So having part-time positions in elementary school is going to be a detriment to our students. And our middle school students are going through a lot, so we really need these counseling positions. Exhibit 3A is my use of time analysis for the first semester. As you can see, I'm at 76% on my student services directly, and then I am at a 25% for indirect student time. So that's very close to the 80-20 split. However, if you have less counselors at Woodrow Wilson High School, this is going to be vastly different. Those percentages are going to be harder to meet. Exhibit 4A are thank you notes and messages that I've gotten from parents and students over the years. And them just talking about the impact that I've had in their lives and how I've been a great support to them. And I would just appreciate if you would look through all of those exhibits for me, please. And then now I'm going to read a little note that I wanted to just say. As school counselors, we wear many different hats. Some students may see my role as a mediator, shoulder of support, a safe place, or a mentor. Our roles as school counselors are vast. Not every day looks the same. There are days that we do not know when the crises will end, where we have to consult with legal officials, make mandated reports, or call in a suicide prevention team. There are also days full of joy in celebrating with our students and families, where we celebrate milestones of a student goal met that may range from attendance, academics, or social emotional needs. As counselors, we are also constantly looking for patterns in learning, friendship, and behavior of all of our students, all while doing a variety of other tasks. The longer a counselor is in their position and at the school, the more they know their students and what patterns to look for. Having less counselor positions means that identifying patterns will begin to diminish due to lack of experts who can detect these patterns. More of this duty will fall on the teachers to identify patterns upon all of their duties teachers already have. Cutting counselors will mean that a lot of identifiable patterns will go unnoticed and students will go unserviced due to these cuts. As a school counselor, we provide a range of services, some services being conducting small groups, providing short-term individual counseling, referring to outside counseling or supports, collaborating with parents, teachers, administrators, and specialists to meet student needs, crisis response services, assisting students to develop personal goals, academic goals and planning for their futures, evaluating student interests, abilities, and skills, advocating for students during student-focused groups, interpreting student records. School counselors help fulfill lives. We help students with challenges and work with them to overcome these barriers. We work with students through a variety of adjustments, from a death in their family to abuse, divorce, custody challenges, and impactful community events. We as school counselors help promote a positive school environment by participating in anti-bullying campaigns, Red Ribbon Week, College and Career Exploration, and Month of Military Child, to name a few. We support the school as a whole with mental health needs and providing social emotional lessons, support, and coping skills. We support student and school safety. School counselors do so many different things, and I love my job, my kids, my community, and my school. All school counselors play such a vital role in their schools. It will be such a disservice to our educational system if the counselors who have been terminated or RIFed do not end up back at their home schools because our schools need us. We need more school counselors, not less. Please do not cut the school counselors.
And at this time, we'd like to call our one witness.
Okay, administration first.
We have no further witnesses to call. The witnesses would be the superintendent and Ms. Simonko. So unless there are questions for either one of those witnesses, we've presented our case. Thank you.
Any questions for the administration?
No.
Okay, go ahead and call your witness.
All right, and can you please,
Good? Okay.
can you please state your name for the record?
Brittany Worley.
Okay, and can you please state your relation to the issue of counselor positions being cut?
I'm a teacher at Woodrow Wilson High School, and I work with the counselors there on a daily basis.
Now, just specifically speaking to the counselor cuts at Woodrow or in general, just being an employee there, seeing what you see, do you feel that the cuts would be unbeneficial to the school as a whole? And do you feel that the remaining counselors would be able to do the same amount of work?
I definitely feel that the cut of going down to 3 counselors is unrealistic for our student body that we have currently. Our current counselors already do so much, and the thought of just piling additional students onto their caseload seems extremely overwhelming. The ladies that we have that service our students at school have such amazing relationships with the students on their caseloads, and I think that it would be detrimental to our students from the top to the bottom if they lose that relationship.
Okay, and just speaking on the contract days, do you feel that, let's say even if all counselors were retained, if all counselors were to go to a 200-day contract rather than 210 secondary, do you feel that the same level of support for students would be able to be maintained?
I do not. I know as a teacher in my position, it is impossible for me to start the school year off on a good foot without the work that these ladies put in before we even step foot in the door.
Well, that answered everything nicely. I have no further questions.
Okay, you want me to read what I have?
Any questions?
She has a statement.
I don't have any. Oh, is there more? Okay.
If you'd like to read your statement, go ahead.
Sure. My name is Brittany Worley, and I'm a teacher at Woodrow Wilson High School. I stand before you today not just as someone in a classroom teaching content, but as someone who spends every day watching what happens to students when systems fail them, and when thankfully there is someone who doesn't. I'm here today to speak to you about why cutting school counselors should not be an option, why bumping counselors who go above and beyond for their students, who know them by name, know their struggles, their failures, and their successes, and their traumas is not an option. It's not simply about numbers on a budget sheet. It's about real students and real life-saving difference the counselors at Woodrow make. I want to tell you something that doesn't show up in a data report or on test scores. Behind every teenager that walks into my classroom, there's a story. For far too many, it's a story of trauma. Some of my students come to school after sleeping in a car because their family was evicted. Some come to school carrying the weight of abuse that no child should ever have to endure. Others show up after losing a parent to addiction, gun violence, or suicide. And some walk in simply carrying the invisible, crushing burden of anxiety and depression that makes even getting out of bed feel impossible. When those students need help, when they break down or lash out or disappear quietly into themselves, it's not always their parents that they run to. It's not always a teacher that they run to, but it's their school counselor. And it's not just any school counselor. It's the one who knows their name and their story, who's seen them through each breakdown, each crisis, each phone call home. Someone who's carried them, often kicking and screaming, practically dragging them across the finish line to graduation, only to be the only person at the end of the stage to congratulate them. You can't replace the relationship with a number or a referral hotline. Our students are not case files. They need someone in the building who already knows them and who they trust with their entire lives while they're falling apart. Let me give you a real life example that won't make it into your budget discussions. Last year, one of my quiet, shy students asked to speak with me privately in the middle of class. I took her out into the hall, and she disclosed to me that just 2 days before, she was raped by another student at our school, someone that she thought was her friend. I held the girl on the floor in the middle of the hallway while she sobbed, and I knew that the next step was critical. I immediately reached out to Miss Katie Stover, her school counselor, and she already knew this girl. She knew that she had recently moved to West Virginia after her mom unexpectedly died. She knew that upon arriving on her father's doorstep and hearing he didn't want her or her brother but did not see any other choice, that this girl was living in a home where she was not loved or wanted. Together we ensured that she received the passionate care that she so desperately needed in that moment. Miss Stover knew exactly what to do. She took this student into her care, along with our wonderful communities and schools lady, and made sure that all the correct guidelines and steps were followed and that she was taken care of. She provided a safe environment where she could begin to process the trauma, retell her story over and over again to state police, CPS, and other agencies. Sadly, the system failed this girl when she had to endure the rest of the school year riding the bus to and fro from school with her rapist and seeing him at school because it was still under investigation. When she had panic attacks because she crossed paths with him in the cafeteria, it was Miss Stover that was there for her. She changed the girl's schedule as many times as necessary to ensure she did not have to face her abuser. Katie was the constant person in her life, guiding her through the labyrinth of support services to help her regain control. It was Miss Stover, her counselor, who stayed by her side, not a police officer, not a parent, and not a stranger. Here's another example. A set of 3 siblings at our school right now has a father that's battling cancer. He recently entered hospice care and he has very limited time left. It's been Miss Cook that's been keeping up with those students. She has spent one-on-one time with them, offering counseling services or just an ear to listen. She has communicated with their teachers to keep us posted, reminding us that these students currently need a little extra love and grace. Another example. Last year, I had a student that had gone missing. She reached out to me on Schoology while she was missing and told me where she was so that I could try to bring her makeup work. I contacted her counselor, and with the help of our resource officer, they were able to find her. We have something really special at Woodrow. Our 4 counselors split up the student population by last name and keep them on their caseload for all 4 years of high school. This is done purposely so that there is a strong relationship built, a constant in their life. When their parents walk out on them, when their teachers come and go with each year, this is the one person that they can bet on to be there for them year after year during some of the toughest years of their life. It's not just the students that the counselors at our school impact. Do you know how many teachers and staff members walk into the counselor's office, close the door, and exhale for the first time all day? That was me the afternoon the student disclosed her rape. I feel like I'd been holding my breath all day. When the students were gone, I walked into Ms. Stover's office and she comforted me. For many adults in our building, our counselors are their only safe place too. Unless you've been in a classroom in the last 5 years, you can't possibly understand how critical these ladies are to our school. COVID brought unprecedented challenges, academic challenges, social isolation, anxiety, and grief. Our teenagers today have deep struggles relating to all of those things, especially in emotional regulation, focus, motivation, and staying on track. Recently, a Raleigh County School board member did a press interview on how our kids that are born addicted to opioids are impacted academically, behaviorally, mentally, and it's taking a toll on all of our schools. The challenges are continuing to grow, making what these ladies do all the more important. If you could spend just 1 week at our schools getting to truly know our kids, you would understand that they are different than the kids of the past. Our kids have been neglected, abused, and abandoned. Adults have walked out of their life over and over again. To gain their trust is extremely difficult, but to capture their hearts is nearly impossible. They will not be willing to start over with someone new. The ladies that have been terminated at Woodrow are not optional. They are the heartbeat of our school. When a student is having a mental health crisis, when they just found out they're pregnant, when they've suffered a loss and their world is falling down around them, we do not have time to start over with a new face, a new name, and a new intake form. These students need someone who already knows the weight they're carrying. What messages are we sending to our students when we remove Miss Stover and Miss Cook from their life? That their mental health isn't a priority? That they're just another person that has walked out on them, even if not by their own choice? We're not just talking about academics, we're talking about survival. Every counselor that you cut is a safe place ripped away from a kid who has nowhere else to go. So I ask you, as a teacher who sees this every single day, please do not make the decision based on numbers and a budget. Make it based on the faces of students that walk through our doors, hoping that if everything else falls apart, there will at least be one adult there to hold them up. Thank you.
And no further questions.
I'm sorry?
No further questions.
Any closing remarks?
Basically, just reiterate, our position is that these 4 cases that are here, the hearings that we're having, that they involve 2 positions that were eliminated, and the employee that's here holding those positions doesn't have sufficient seniority for a job for the upcoming school year, and that the other 2 will be bumped from a position and they don't hold enough seniority. So the case is not about, how important counselors are to school systems, but counselors do move from position to position in school districts, and that does happen. And in this particular case, the recommendation to realign the counselor workforce will, by the way that the laws are written, would result in, these 4 individuals' contracts being terminated for the reasons that we've stated. Thank you.
You raised your case?
I'm
sorry. Your case raised your case?
We do, and we'll move to closing remarks on our end.
I'm sorry? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so very, very brief closing. Thank you all. Thank you all for the time. It's been a 15-hour day for us, and still, you time and attention that they deserve. So thank you all for that. Secondly, I'm sure it was clear already, but just to reiterate that, we're not arguing that, or we're not arguing the way that the laws are written. We're arguing the fact that the cuts being made that are causing and ensuing this bumping, those cuts themselves, which are directly related to the bumping of these individuals, the cuts themselves are not in line with what the state and county's needs are, nor what are they in line with what the legislature finds with their most recent elevator behavior bill. So I trust that within all of these hearings, you all have taken everything into account. There's no need to further emphasize any other points. I just trust that everything that's been discussed regarding the counselors and the needs of the students, I know, and it's clear that you all will take that to heart. So thank you all, and if there's any...
If there's nothing, then there's nothing.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to us tonight. I just want to reiterate that West Virginia is a trauma state. Raleigh County has a lot of trauma. We have a lot of social emotional needs. We have a lot of low socioeconomic students. And I think that realigning the school counseling program to having less counselors will be a detriment to our students, and we will have a lot of students who are going to transfer out to homeschool and to private schools and utilize the Hope Scholarship due to this this action. Thank you.